So we were just talking about energy levels.
Yes.
Now we're going to talk about human energy levels.
Yes.
Including the energy levels in this room. I
Yes.
think your next study should be about people going to conferences and having to sit in the dark for hours at a time listening to people
thoughts.
talk on stage.
I have thoughts.
So, you've talked about, your last book was about boredom.
Yeah.
Next book is about technology's effect on our bodies.
Yes.
What appealed to you about this topic?
Okay, so how many of you have closed your laptop at the end of the day and felt like you have just enough energy to sort of crawl over to the couch to scroll on your phone or stream Netflix, or maybe both at the same time? That feeling was really bugging me because I couldn't understand why I was so damn tired. Where did my energy go? I was sitting there all day.
And this is working from home
This
largely.
is working from home. It really was during the pandemic that, things got intense. And I just wanted to understand, because I feel like we talk so much about the mental health issues that being online and scrolling have, but we don't talk a lot about the physical effects of all of our tech use. And so I was like, this is my jam. I'm a journalist. I have been for 30 years.
Yeah, I know. We've known each other a lot of that time.
We've known each other a long time. So I decided to sort of dig into what was it that was sort of draining us and making us feel so exhausted. Not just the content, but the actual physicality of our technology. And while I was doing that, I came across this amazing researcher at Columbia University Medical Center, a physiologist, who was his entire life is about finding the minimum amount of movement that the human body needs in order for sitting all day not to kill them. And I know,
that.
Right?
Minimum
he has one
viable
job,
movement.
minimum. And he found a gold standard in his lab, and this was that 5 minutes of gentle movement for every 30 minutes of sitting counteracted the effects of, it dropped blood pressure, blood sugar, it improved mood and fatigue. And I was like, well, this guy has found the answer then, but can we actually do that? Can we actually move for 5 minutes? Every 30 minutes, because actually it does sound like a lot. It sounds like a lot of interruptions, right?
Gotta have set a timer.
Exactly. So I went and I took part in the lab. I was one of his, so I went for one day up to Columbia and I sat on my butt and they measured my glucose and my heart rate and all kinds of other stuff. And then I did another day where I got up and walked, not fast, 2 miles per hour on the treadmill for 5 minutes every half hour. And my glucose was cut in half in comparison. My blood pressure dropped by 5 points. And my mood was incredibly better. And also my focus was better. So I went back to NPR and I was like, let's do a study with Columbia. So we partnered and we did a global clinical trial, and 20,000 people around the world signed up to try to get these breaks into their lives.
It's really kind of an amazing
It's
size.
kind of cool, right?
It shocked me.
We had to close it at 20,000.
There were more people lined up.
Oh yeah. People feel like shit right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
For a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons. And if you can give them 5 minutes to feel a little better, that's free.
It doesn't require a drug.
No.
So you blew it out. 20,000 people start
Yeah.
sending in information. How long did it last, and then what did you find?
We had a week of baseline and then 2 weeks of actually, to be clear, this is a self-reported study. These are motivated participants. However, this was exciting for me because I've done these engagement projects over the years with getting people to try to change their behavior and report back. This was the first time I'd actually done it with a real medical institution. So I was pumped. And of the people who committed to taking the movement breaks, 80% stuck with them. They could sign up for either 5 minutes every half hour, every hour, or every 2 hours. As you'd expect, compliance was greater in the less often, but the more people took breaks, the better they felt. Between 21 to 28% less fatigued. And to me, the biggest thing was, a lot of people, actually, some people lost weight. People who went outside, no big surprise, they got an extra mood boost. But to me, what I found so interesting was that their productivity did not drop. Despite the interruptions, they felt that they got back to their work feeling more focused and that the quality of their work was actually improved. So there was a lot of fear, I'm not gonna get anything done. Well, guess what? Those hours where you're not actually getting anything done because it's after lunch and you're sitting and you're like, I'll just check that. Let me just check that. I'll just check that. So for me, once the project was done for the book, which comes out in May, I went back through the 20,000 people, all, because they clicked a lot of information, but they also wrote us personal diaries. So I went through all of the stories to figure out, how did people do it? How did they change their workplace culture? How did they change their classroom culture? We had a lot of professors and teachers who did it. And also, so interesting, retired people have a completely different problem. They're often active all day long. They get home at 5 o'clock, they make some dinner, they sit down, and then they don't move till 11 or 12. So, and I broke it into the book, I break it into young people, information workers, because you have your own sort of mental capacity issues as well, and then longevity and looking at older people. Because the statistics are really shocking. I mean, 4 out of 5 Americans have at least one chronic illness, and many of those are preventable.
Yeah, I think there's also, you presented this as the physical story, not the mental health story,
Yeah.
but I think they overlap here.
They do.
Because they're intertwined and they affect each other.
Absolutely. And I came up with a word, not ChatGPT. I call it the mind-body tech connection.
Okay.
Because I really do think it's not just, in our heads, right? It is part of our bodies. And the more I have talked to researchers who are studying sort of different aspects of it, we know now that it is all connected. So first of all, there's why sitting is so bad for you, which is that you actually kink your arteries at your hips and your knees, which doesn't allow your leg muscles to be stimulated, and leg muscles have to be stimulated in order to flush out glucose and lipids. And then I was like, well, people have standing desks now. Unfortunately, standing also doesn't take care of it. It's the movement that actually pushes the blood up and cleans it out. Then there's a lot of research going into posture, and what posture, when you're bent, you constrict the diaphragm. When you constrict the diaphragm, you take shallower breaths. Shallower breaths leads to less oxygenation in your blood and in your brain. And what happens when you don't get enough oxygen? You get tired, you lose focus. And then there's a new, this is fascinating to me, there's a new sort of field of study, relatively new, called interoception. And this is studying the signals that the body is sending to the brain to let it know what it needs, right? It's like you, without even thinking about it, you take off your jacket because you're a little hot, or you're like, oh, I need something to eat. Some of those are conscious, some of those are unconscious. But how often have you ignored the signals that your body is sending you because you're this, or you're got to get this done? And I think that's where we see people ignoring sort of the very human things that they need, their biology needs, and I think that we see leading to burnout and eventually even these chronic illnesses that people have.
I know I said we weren't going to talk about attention, but I feel like we're right there up against it, where we're living in a media world now where we grew up on web pages, infinite amount of content, and all you had to do is click the links to go through the web. Our media platforms now, TikTok and Instagram, you don't click on anything.
No.
It clicks on you. It just gives you, it's an infinite scroll that's designed to make you do nothing and feel nothing.
Yep.
And you can miss 10, 12, 15, 20 minutes going through 7-second videos.
It's extraordinary, right?
We've never lived in a world like that
where
before.
you look up and you're like, what just happened? It's an out-of-body experience, and I think that's not just a metaphor. You truly are out of your body.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about the difference between, like, we hear about the good flow state, right? This idea, and that's what people were upset about. They were like, well, what am I supposed to do? What if I'm in flow? And I'm like, knock yourself out. If you're in flow, that's amazing, enjoy it. But we know that the human brain reaches capacity at about 2 to 2.5 hours max. So you might think that you're like jamming. I don't know if you've had this. You come back to something you've worked on the next day and you're like, this is terrible. How did I think this was good? This is awful. So there's flow that's being injected upon us by the media platforms. And then there is that true, beautiful flow where you're connecting the dots and smashing ideas together. And the previous panel was about creativity. You're having those breakthroughs when you feel truly alive, right?
Nobody's tired when they're in a state of flow.
No.
You're not tired. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing when you've been in front of your computer for an hour and you haven't done anything in 20 minutes.
Yes.
Like you haven't really done anything.
Yes. Oh, and then what do? You take a break by checking Instagram.
Yeah. It's a vicious circle.
Totally.
Before we go, we're running out of time, but I want you to just share your personal advisory board.
Oh.
And how you built it.
Dan and I were like trading, like, how are you using AI? And I told him, it's my secret.
No, well, not anymore.
Not anymore. I created an advisory board for myself. So I bring professional problems to my panel. And that consists of a McKinsey consultant, a journalism mentor, a therapist, my showrunner, a William Morris Endeavor agent, and who's my sixth?
The agent gets 20%.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No joke. Like he has chewed. There's no joke. And I bring my problems to my advisory board, and they each write me a paragraph about how they would deal with a professional instance. But then I make them go back and confer with each other and reach one single plan of advice for me. And I find that I don't know, have I taken the advice? Actually, yes, I have. I just feel like ChatGPT is mirroring what I want to hear. So let's hear it from like different perspectives. And I make them go do research. I'm like, do a deep dive into podcast sales or media ecosystem or whatever else. But you know who is the most salient, really? It's the journalism mentor.
Really?
I know.
What? Did you give them different weights, or did you let them duke it out?
I just feel like because of all the other work that I've done in ChatGPT, it's pulled something out about caring about documenting and truth-seeking and fact-finding and storytelling. It gets me, Dan. It just gets me.
Well, I mean, you're making a joke about that, but ideally, that is one of the things that should happen. It should get to know you, know your priorities, know that you always ask the same questions in the same order, and then weight those. And I mean, this is part of the problem too with the obsequiousness.
Totally.
It's trying to make you happy. It's trying to give you what you want.
Yes, and I do make sure to go back to my advisory board, and I'm like, let's go back and poke holes in this, and it's starting to understand that I will not take whatever they say as, absolutely the plan going forward.
So I don't want you to give away everything that's in the book, but in terms of just best practices, most of us are working in front of laptops all day.
Yeah.
What are the best practices? How do we keep ourselves from feeling tired like that?
The number one thing is, and we saw this time and time again, that the people who succeeded started with timers, but a really interesting thing happened after a few days or about a week. Once they tuned back into the signals that their body was sending them, they would start to know when they needed to move. So I would say take breaks and don't feel bad about it. And remember, for those of you of a certain age, remember when people would be like, I'm just gonna go take a smoke? Like, this should be normal. We should be like, I gotta move. And so I'm just making it normal. I'm like, I gotta move. We gotta move. Should we move? Let's move.
You wanna move?
Yeah, they've been sitting here. Let's just move. This is all you have to do, seriously.
Yeah?